about 3 resources you recommend. But I
Okay.
want to dive right into the 3 resources because you're kind of colorful. And you got a story, and you're looking to have these call a damn lead sign all over the world, billboards, everything. You understand the importance of hard work. You
Indeed.
understand the importance of getting things done. And you said crush the day. And I read this article by Lonnie Walker the fourth, or about him. He's a player in the NBA that played on the Spurs and then climbed his way up and had a big difference with the Lakers when they won the championship. Um, and he said his mantra is dominate the day. And that is hand in
So
hand with crush the day. Tell
I'm
me,
going
go
to
ahead.
be honest with you. I swiped mine from Jim Rohn because as I was entering personal development and like growth, he had it was on one of the YouTube clips of the millions he has. It was either you run the day or the day runs you. And I thought, damn, Jim, that's real solid, but I can't say that because that's yours. So how am I going to say it in my own way? And crush the day is what came out of it.
Dude, one thing I love, you talk about Jim as though he was talking to you. You own the virtual mentorship opportunities that exist. And maybe you do know him, but I'm pointing
Oh,
out to
hell
the
no.
visionaries out there. Okay, you didn't get me. Rest in peace, Jim. Right, but there's a power, a tremendous power, in being able to fully embrace virtual mentors. So many people don't do
So
it.
one of the things that I learned, because I grew up, my dad was not in my life. Well, he was, but he was very in and out, and I had a lot of like examples of what not to be as a father, as a
Is
man.
that name
And
Jack?
so no, his name
Okay.
is Dan.
Okay, I gotta make
So
sure. My dad's got some children out there. I'm positive about it. So
I've got my dad's got a couple I've never met too. So we are more kin than we even knew going into this call, Jackson. So this is even more fun than that. But what I learned along the way is that you can learn and be mentored by anyone. When I went to work at 18 years old as a nuclear pharmacy technician, which is a really fancy way of saying that I took radioactive stuff, mixed it with chemicals, and sent it off to hospitals. It was a cool job. And I worked with a bunch of old retired men who all wanted to get away from their wives and make deliveries to have beer money. And what I learned was that you don't have to have the answer to every question. You just got to know where to go looking for it. And if you know where to go looking for it, you sound like the smartest person in the room. Because everyone else that's trying to BS their way through the conversation is just throwing off red flags and nobody trusts them. But if you're willing to just say, hey, I don't know what I don't know, but I'll go learn it, somebody will teach it to you. And funny enough, if you look hard enough, which isn't very hard, everything you need to know exists in the world and somebody wants to teach it to you. You just got to be willing to listen.
oh my gosh, brother. I get to be color commentator, and that's fun because you get to say all the important things, and I get to look like the one who's smarter or wiser. And yet you gave me the depth of gold right there. You literally almost quoted Paul Buchheit. Nope, I lied. Matt Cutts. We were part of my first startup, Y Combinator. Paul Buchheit's the inventor of Gmail. Matt Cutts is the search director of Google.
Mm.
And Matt Cutts, we thought for sure we could tell everybody we were the best SEO company in the world at that point because we had the search director as our guide. And his first training with our founder, he said, make sure to tell your team that an expert is not the person who knows everything. An expert is the person who will go find the answer.
Come on.
Dude, you nailed it. That
Come on.
changed my life. Right. It absolutely changed my life. I was immediately like, oh, I have a 0.33 GPA. And I've always been told that I don't really know what I'm doing. If I can go get the answers, I can go find the people who know stuff. Right. He empowered me at a level that, and I didn't get to meet him. No, I
You
went,
ever notice though that the people that told you didn't know what you were doing were often the ones that had the answer and still couldn't get it done?
always, almost always. I be careful with that word. Always is an easy way to lose an argument, by the way. Or
Well,
lose
fair enough.
right? So, so I don't use those types of words. I'm very careful to put those softeners in. Again, this has turned into a lesson on almost diplomacy and an opportunity to just figure out depth of leadership. And I think too many visionaries and leaders take that for granted. When in reality, it's one of the superpowers of life is figuring out who's going to be able to help you move the mountains at greater capacities. And Drewbie, you've surprised me in very great ways. How old are you, by the way?
37.
Really? You look younger than me.
Well,
When's your birthday?
July 3rd.
Okay. Okay. I'm coming up 37 months from now.
Okay.
So fun stuff.
Well, the beautiful
Golly.
thing about life is that you can live a lot of lives and be old and young all at once. It's all
Correct.
about your perspective and how you take experienced and bring it back to the world around you. And I've met people that are in age much older than I am, but in spirit much, much younger. And vice versa. I've met people younger than me that have given up on life already, but they have so much more opportunity than I have because they have the one asset that nobody can get more of, which is time.
Yeah, exactly. All you young guns out there. That's fun to say that these days. A little bit, right? I still think I'm with you guys, but they all look at me like I'm old. So, Drewbie, have you used the analogy before of the hours logged as a pilot?
I don't know that I've ever used the analogy for hours logged of a pilot, but I'd love to know how it breaks down so that I could potentially use it in the future.
It's going to be fun because now I just found out you probably have used something similar to help people understand the value. And again, now we're talking about tactics. We're talking about frameworks. And my friends, those of you listening in, the tactics and the frameworks, if you use them to manipulate, yeah, you will fail and have crappy relationships. But using the words "I love you" is a framework. You can use it out of context and you can use it very authentically as well. When I was 21 trying to consult, and I would get pitted against, right? I'm coming in as a consultant. And like, well, why should we go with you and not the 35-year-old that we're talking to, or the 55-year-old, who's got decades of wisdom on your experience, obviously because of their age, blah, blah, blah. And it was either Jim Rohn, John Maxwell, or somebody through the Success Magazine CDs that taught me the principle of the pilots. And I would say something to the lines of, you got a great point. They do have decades of wisdom on me and all sorts of things. But if we take two pilots, one who's 21 years old and one who is 45 years old, and you look at how many hours have they actually flown the plane, would you rather fly with somebody who's been a pilot for 20 years and only flown the plane for 5 hours? Or would you rather go on a flight with a 21-year-old who's already flown 10,000 hours? So let's do something different. Here's what I'm going to offer. Bring the other consultants, invite them to a 3-hour meeting where we can all go over strategy together and where we all present. And what you will find, likely, is you will either find 3 leaders who can work really, really well together and we can likely serve your needs at a higher capacity, or you will see that they have inferiority complexes and they will try to undermine me and undercut each other in the process of trying to win your attention and make themselves look best. And you can then decide from there much more clearly who you want to work with. But I would be very surprised if they're dedicated enough to you to come in for that 3-hour pro bono meeting.
Come on. I've not used that specifically, but I have done something very similar of inviting, hey, you know what? It sounds like we've each brought you an idea or two that could be very well the thing that gets you where you want to go. What if we all work together and we're able to implement them at the same time to maximize the result here?
1 + 1 is 11, man. All day long with great leaders who get it. You get it, dude. I absolutely love the way you're showing up. So you've maximized your life. You've come to understand some powerful lessons. You understand the reality that it takes a tribe to raise a human being, because what you and I both needed that tribe. And so we got to latch on to different people and understand things. What 3 resources would you recommend to other visionary leaders out there? What can they turn to grasp some of this wealth of knowledge that you've found?
For me, the number one resource that I would say is social media. If you are not going on social media and finding the people who are living the life that you want to live, you're missing out on the opportunity to see what's possible for yourself. Because you don't know what you don't know until you do. And then you have the choice to make on where you go with that, which would lead to the number 2 resource, which is books. So many people have stopped reading books and stopped absorbing that knowledge in a way that will allow them to live the life that they want to live. I've written 3 books. I have more on the way. Jackson, you've probably written a book or 2 just based on our conversation so far. But the reason those books are so powerful is because, as you mentioned, it takes 10,000 hours to become a master in anything. Well, what if you could spend 2 hours reading a book that took someone 10,000 hours worth of time to develop and create those frameworks, to create those trainings? You're compressing time. Time, again, is your one asset that you cannot get more of. You can't win in a poker tournament and you don't get a box of on Christmas morning. So if you can leverage that resource and invest it in a way that has a measurable return on investment, well, as a visionary, as a leader, your whole goal in life is to teach people this process. So if I had to pick one other resource, it would be this podcast, because you are bringing on amazing people to share their value, to share the little nuggets and wisdom that they've taken years and spent thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn and to absorb. And you're putting out the time, energy, and effort to share that with others who could grow. So, I mean, those are 3 free resources that everybody could go and get right now and make their life a million times better.
Man, the bromance was already strong, dude. You just had to go that route. So those you listening right now, bro marketers get such a bad rap, and they should, by the way. I wouldn't put Drewbie in that category, even though it kind of looks like it, even though I kind of talk like it. There's a massive difference, and that difference is often found in exactly what Drewbie started to talk about in the beginning, which was that person who knows they don't know everything and is going to work hard to go get that answer. There's principles that can be seen beyond, I don't want to call it the facade, but the way we present ourselves, right? There's opportunities to understand and grab value. And man, no, I haven't published a book, by the way. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. Yep, absolutely. We have 2 very different strategies, you and I, about that process, but you're doing the book publishing. I just looked it up. I'm going to pull it up before we move on, because I am notorious to some people for shaming the book publishing processes that exist out there, because it's one of those assets that if you don't hit the market the right way, it can create a permanent reputation problem for your ability to move forward. Now, you have an interesting reality, though. You're leveraging book publishing in a little bit different way, and you've got the principles of growth in heart. What I'm talking about, and so now this puts perfect context around what I've been trying to articulate to these authors, is they publish as a one and done, get rich quick scheme. And they don't mean to. Nobody wants to be labeled to get rich quicker. Nobody wants to own that fast growth and get rich quick are synonymous. And people want to villainize the opportunity to get rich quick. And like, no, if the principles aligned and it happened, that's awesome. But the paths that often lead to that are filled with snake oil and all sorts of garbage. So I see these authors who publish a book. It's an agency owner who's got 300 active clients. And in a matter of 3 years' time, he's got 2 reviews on his book. And it's like, couldn't you get your mom to review the book at least? Like, don't you realize the market perception that if 300 people who apparently love you completely ignored your book, why do you bring it up 6 times on my podcast? And keep saying, I don't mean to mention my book, but, and the guy knows who he is. Digressing. There's a lot of people who kind of, but I see your assets and I'm like, oh, this is a guy who's going to keep
I appreciate you being honest about that, Jackson, because you're not wrong. There are far too many people who think, oh, I'm going to write a book and everybody's going to think I'm an expert. And funny, I have a book on social media. I've used social media to make millions of dollars in sales, put over $1 million in cash in my bank account with receipts and all that. And I don't say any of that to brag. I say that because I wrote the book giving the exact strategy that I used to a T, because if someone wanted to pay me for coaching, it's thousands of dollars to work with me individually. But you know what? If you got $10 and you can read a book for an hour and go implement what's in there, you'll make enough to go to the next level. But for me, the books are more, I have to create training in my business so that I can teach someone to do the job that I don't want to do anymore, so that I can move on to the next job as a visionary leader. That's what those books are to me. Right. It's so funny that you would talk about all these people that are like, oh, I'm going to write this book and it's going to do all these things. But you know what? It's almost like the person who peaked in high school that went and got a job in direct sales or as a real estate agent or something because they thought, well, everybody around me likes me, so they're obviously going to want to buy my stuff and do business with me. But that's not how entrepreneurship works. That's
No.
not how any of this works, y'all. I'm sorry to
Right.
tell you.
Two, for you and for everybody on this, watch out for the FCC when using lines. Like, I put it all in here for you to follow, or I'm holding your hand through it. The FCC is coming hard and fast for coaches
Oh, yeah.
in the very near future. It's already started, but it hasn't quite hit as big of a spread because there's a lot of oversimplification that happens in marketing. If, let's imagine Bill Gates writes a book and he says, all my secrets are in this, and if you follow this, you'll have the same exact results. It's fucking, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but it's Bill Gates, man. There's variables that exist there, but the content and the power of it, I'm actually a fan of Bill Walsh. I don't know him too well. I got to see him on stage and present, and man, he was throwing out little bitty assets like hotcakes. And he's got lots of different assets repurposed, but he's not counting on that one tiny asset to make his life and go retire on a beach and not do anything from there. He's serving people. And this little guy is Dale Carnegie's OG lead magnet. This is from 1964. Right. And so he had the book, but he also had the little bitty cheat sheet style. So all of these types of assets, they're very helpful. Again, I love that Drewbie stands for doing the hard work, because work is a virtue. Thank you, Robert Kiyosaki, right? And Rich Dad Poor Dad for saying, never be a slave to money. Understand the value of doing the work. So this has been awesome. We're going to continue. We're going to pick up with Drewbie's vision. We're going to talk about not only calling the leads and making sure that you're getting in contact with people, but we're just going to give you everything that we can in the most efficient way possible for how to help you all succeed. And we will be right back. All right, welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Calame. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your show host, Jackson Calame, founder and CEO of First Class Business, and I'm stoked to have Drewbie Wilson on the show today. This is my fault, guys. I came in a little bit too unprepared. I was enjoying my team time too much right before this. And so I get in, and he's got this program called Call the Damn Leads, which is a bit feisty. And so I'm like, all right, is this going to be a feisty, pretentious individual? I'm also booked for his podcast, and my team booked me. When you're going through growth, you can't do everything, and you can't be everywhere for everyone. So I was like, okay, hopefully I don't have to cancel the show. In comes this marketing bro, this nice, cool looking hat and all that. And I'm like, oh boy, we'll see how this goes. And he's got the banter, and he's got the charisma down and the charm. And then next thing you know, he's got the wisdom, and he makes the space for my mistakes, and he's got the leadership skills. And I'm like, holy crap. And he's doing the RV traveling thing with his family, and headed down to Florida, and smart enough to wait for, what's going on down there. So there's all sorts of wisdom packed into this young man. He's older than me. I was like, what? Okay. Well, that's cool too. So we're going to be learning a lot about making sure to put in the right reps, how to do it. Before I bring him back on stage, though, I got to give you guys some other resources. So one is Brain Glue. Drewbie's going to love this as well. I can't wait to introduce him. If he doesn't already know, James Bond. James Bond wrote Brain Glue, and the OG of publishing or books, Jack Canfield, who got over 130 million copies sold of Chicken Soup for the Soul, said you'd have to be an idiot as an entrepreneur not to buy this book. James helps you understand how to be unforgettable by really doing a lot of the things that I just saw Drewbie do as I got to know him. Sounds like Scooby-Doo when I say that. All right, so let's keep going. Then there's Dave Morrow of hardtokill.org. He's helping 100,000 veterans lose 2 million pounds collectively. I got a little bit lost on that because he's opened the community to civilians. And so I'm in there getting my workouts on, and I've been doing I have successfully ignored every personal trainer that has ever sold you, every workout program that has ever sold you, and every health nut that I've worked with or talked to. I've managed to stay the kind of skinny fat guy and not done any of it for 8 years. Well, somehow Dave was able to Miyagi me into doing my workouts. I'm doing 125 push-ups a day, like 2 months rolling now, and it feels really good. My back, even though I had a surgery, actually feels quite good at this point. I actually forget I have the pain that I've carried for so long. I regret the time that I didn't spend maximizing my health dealing with the PTSD of that. So if you too want to maximize your health, I highly recommend checking out what Dave Morrow's up to in the Hard to Kill community. Then there's the Water Project. I have no affiliation with it. I have donated to it, but when I found out that there was millions of people who don't even have access to clean drinking water, I decided I wasn't going to forget about it. So we talk about it on this podcast all the time. My hope is that we will inspire more and more of you to contribute to projects just like this. What's cool about the Water Project, they show you exactly where your money goes. You get to pick the community that you're helping. You get to see the project that they're building and how the community gets involved with it. You get to know how many people are going to be directly and immediately impacted by it. And when you see these pictures of the results, you get to know that you got to help with that impact. I see this picture coming up of these children celebrating water like my kids celebrate Christmas Day. And like I said, I refuse to forget about that. We can eradicate problems like this if we band together. So if you're in a position to give back financially, then please help out the Water Project. If you're not, my hope is that you will meditate or that you'll pray on who you should share that with, because you never know the ripple effect of what could happen by continuing to spread the word about opportunities to help others. So thanks for hearing me out on that, everybody. And welcome to Vision Pros Live, Drewbie Wilson.
Hey, welcome back. Thank you again for having me, Jackson. I'm really honored for the opportunity. And I just want to say that as I was listening, I wrote down brain glue because I'm 100% going to go check that out. That's always, I love to read and I love to check out content. You know, you don't know what you don't know. So that's why when you're in the right room with the right people, having the right conversations, the right things start happening. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to be in this right room with you today, Jackson. And also, having lost over 100 pounds in my life, not once, but twice, I want to give credit to Dave and his journey of helping people lose 2 million pounds, because I know in my own life that was a massive part of my journey, literally and figuratively. And anyone who takes that journey, I support you. And I'm here to tell you that others will support you as well, because your health is one of, if not the most important thing you have in your life right now.
Drewbie, let's keep it going. I'm going to get out of your way. What the heck? What's your vision for those that you serve, man?
So my big vision right now, Jackson, is that I own a company named Call the Damn Leads. And as we kind of joked about before the show, it's just a mantra for doing the work. But I know that sales changed my life. It gave me a route and an opportunity to make more money and affect more things than any other person or opportunity ever. And along the way, everyone who I've met from sales, doesn't matter your personality, your background type, your history, you can create an amazing life in this industry. What I know, though, is you still have to do the work. And so my big crazy vision is that by the year 2030, our logo, a keychain, a wristband, a hat, a t-shirt, something will be in every single airport across the United States, on a bag, on someone's head somewhere. And by 2040, I hope that we've gotten into a couple of different languages and we're in all the airports across the world.
Yeah, dude. Okay. So has anybody ever told you you're freaking nuts?
100%. They tell me I'm crazy all the time. That's why I love it and why I keep showing up, because the crazy people are always crazy until they're not, and they're geniuses.
Absolutely. I tell my kids all the time, like, crazy is a compliment. I was like, that is an absolute compliment. People who are you crazy, be excited, because they're doing life right. So I did, again, I like to bait Drewbie, because you always end up going down that maximum leadership path. And I'm like, holy crap, this guy's off to the races. And I'm more of an auditor, Drewbie. My role in life. Okay. So one, I was a missionary, and that's the hardest sell there is teaching atheists about God in a foreign language when you're 19 years old and you don't really know much. And they're like, I'm 80 years old. I know more than you. What do you think you know? And next thing you know, you're helping them find God. And so
you learn a lot about rejection there, I'll bet.
Yes, you do. And rejection's a lot more painful. It comes in many forms, whether it's being held up at gunpoint, hit over the head by a bamboo or by a palm tree branch that you didn't know had spikes on it until it happens, or being spit on. There's lots of things that happen there. And reasons why you cry and want to give up. But you persevere and go through. So with that said, um, so I was on that mission and I teed up a lot of people, but I wasn't quite ready to help them go over the finish line. Right. I was really good at helping. And then this missioner comes in behind me and he baptizes like everybody. And he had this reputation amongst the less productive individuals, right? All the pretenders that are out there. There's a lot of them that talk, right? And then there's a few contenders who actually get things done. And so I was looking at that and like I was gonna blame him and I was gonna step into my pretender mode and be like, oh, and I started to think about it, I was like, he just believes in people more than I do. He just respects people's freedom of choice to move forward and lets them go. I tend to protect people from the cliff's edge a lot. I tend to
Mm.
go into overprotective mode. And so you're an accelerator at extreme capacity, empowering people like crazy. And I'm the auditor and the brake who says, you know what, for this plane to fly, for this rocket ship to succeed, we got to be able to have both of those realities in place. But here's why I'm mentioning this, and I'm excited to hear your perspective because again, I got tremendous respect for you as a leader. I wouldn't say that if it weren't true, by the way. I have many things I could say. And so I would keep that to the side and appreciate you as a person, but you got some serious leadership. So here I was running sales teams, right? Home security cells, solar cells, the typical pest control cells, sometimes
Door
in
to
the
door, I'm
industrial,
assuming.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of door to door, also running
Oh yeah.
call centers for some of those things too. So I've been in
Okay.
and around those circumstances. And one of the saddest realities was how many young professionals or young people would get picked up off the street to come sell with us and weren't taught leadership principles. Were taught, go do this, you can change your life, you can change. And it certainly did, because they'd get these $500, or in the solar cells, they would get these $8,000 paychecks. And you know what we spent every Monday doing? Bailing people out of jail. Every
Right
Monday,
there.
we're bailing these kids out of jail because they've been put into this position where they have this extreme power and where they get this money, but no leader has helped them understand how to wield that power and how to use it responsibly. And so I'm not saying my way is better than yours at all. I'm looking at you like that other missionary is like, man, just off the races and doing it. But what responsibility do we have as leaders engaging with other adults who are responsible for their own decisions and helping make sure that the resources they don't get so much water that they drown in it, or they don't get so much fire that they get burnt by it, but they get what they need in order to truly change their life for the right reasons in the right ways.
Well, Jackson, I'm gonna push back a little bit and say it's not for us to decide how much they get or don't get. The only thing that we are responsible for is exemplifying what leadership can be through our own actions, through our own words, and through our own decision making. Because at the end of the day, you're right. Everyone was born with their God-given free will. You can choose to do, be, and say whatever you want on this planet. And one of the things that my mentor taught me early on was this. He said, methods are many, principles are few. Methods may vary, but principles never do. There's a million ways to make $1 million. But you know what? Anyone who's ever made $1 million, they had some core things, some principles that they lived by. And so what I work with these young guns, and I was one of those young guns that came in hot like a pistol, shooting and going crazy and making money and spending it all like an idiot. I had to have that experience because hindsight's 2020. School is expensive, and every 21-year-old out there, in my opinion, thinks they know the right way to live their life. But you ain't been through it. And until you've had the experience, until you've lived it, it doesn't matter how much the old timer tells you about it. It doesn't matter how much me and Jackson try to tell you every single day, hey, man, if you do this, it's going to cause an issue. If you do this, it's going to cause an issue, because you know what? Even the kid has to touch the stove once or twice to realize it's friggin' hot and I shouldn't do that no more. And so, in my opinion, there's only one thing we should do, and that is just focus on being the best version of ourselves, for us, for God, for whatever you believe in, so that the people around us can see that example and effectively implement it in their own lives.
I mean, it's, again, like I said, I get that color commenting opportunity, right, to dissect what was said, but there was just brilliance in everything. Really, like there's so much wisdom in that. And you keyed in on what strikes me about my favorite leader on earth. and that is Jake Larson of Video Power Marketing. And it is that reality that he exemplifies leadership. He doesn't do it so that he just is, right? It's about becoming, and
This is
it's
the way
to be, right? And so there's so many different realities that I personally want to go down related to that, because there's, what does it mean? And that quote, by the way, fire, whoever your mentor was, like that, man, that stirs the heart. Who was the mentor?
Ryan Stewman.
Ryan Stewman. Okay. Awesome. Got away with words. At least that time he did. So the exemplifying leadership, Hitler exemplified leadership, Martin Luther King exemplified leadership. Martha Stewart exemplified leadership. I meant to say Mother Teresa. But that works.
Both of them, really.
So
they both fit, because Martha Stewart, like, and it fits in because, yeah, criminals can be leaders 100%. Like, that's why if you watch TV, some of the most powerful television shows of all time are about criminal enterprises. And you know what's interesting is the leader in those criminal enterprises, he fights the battle between good and evil, because he doesn't want to be a bad guy. He's just trying to do right for the people around him. But the right that he knows just happens to be the wrong way in the eyes of the masses.
Yep. I love it. I also got to push back on the kids aspect, though. And so it's a wonderful paradigm. And when I was first time dad, right, my first child was born, I knew I was going to be the best dad in the world. And this little bundle of joy comes out, right? And I'm teaching her, and my goodness, she was learning left and right. And I knew I was ready to write the book on parenting, Drewbie. I could teach this girl about light switches, and she got it. I could teach her oven's hot, don't touch it. And she would, we would sit down for family dinner she's 6 months old, and she goes like this. Like before we do, we almost start to eat, and we're like, oh my goodness, like, whoa, okay, this child, we are the bomb as parents. We are the absolute best. And then my son was born. I don't know a dang thing about parenting. I don't know anything. I thought I had trained the child. I thought I knew all the tricks. My son's amazing, by the way. And it has come around to where he's just as amazing as my daughter in the ways that I was excited for my child to be. But I had to learn so many truths and realizations about, they make their own decisions. So there's a truth and a reality of, we can't force somebody to change. And, but I agree with you that the byproduct of exemplifying leadership, of dedicating ourselves to be our best leaders, is going to lead to other people making shifts and change in their life. So I'm just grateful for the principles that I've seen you follow, because hopefully other people in our world will continue to jump onto those types of bandwagons and start to experience the change. And then this world becomes a brighter place as they dive into that. So Drewbie, what's your vision for you? You guys I'm going to push you in one direction on this. You're traveling right now and doing things there too. What's your vision? What are you guys up to?
Right now, our vision is to live out our perfect day every single day. So I was following a guy named Frank Kern. Some of you may know him. He's the godfather of direct response marketing. And he has a speech he gives called Core Influence. And it's really it's kind of that marketing bro thing. Remember, I am a marketing bro to an extent. But it really just talks about, hey, what is your perfect day? If you woke up every day and you just got to live out the day that was like pretty damn awesome, realistically, what would it look like? What would you do? Where would you spend it? Who would you spend it with? What would you spend it doing? And I did that exercise 3 years ago. My mentor at the time, he said, hey, man, I want you to do this because we're building something big, and I want to know where you're trying to go in this world, in this life. And success is a perspective. My version, definitely different than your version, Jackson. We've kind of learned that while we are similar, there are definitely a lot of things that we are on complete opposite spectrums on.
Yeah.
But what's great is just because my perspective is slightly different doesn't mean that it's wrong. And when we learn that the perspective is the only thing that matters, well, guess what? Now I have intention and I can focus on just doing that, and everything else that happens because of it is a byproduct. So my vision is just to wake up every day, do the things that bring me joy, and know that if I pour out enough value into the world around me, that God is always going to make sure that I'm taken care of. And shout out to the gentleman sitting outside the Walmart when I made the decision to walk away from a big multi 6-figure salary to launch my business and go all in on this lifestyle. When my wife and I were like, did we make the right choice? Are we going in the right direction? You know what he said? He says, hey, man, I just wanted you to know that you don't got to worry about it because God's got it. And if God's got it, man, you ain't got nothing to worry about. And I just went, tears coming out of my eyes because I know that I'm living out my vision and my mission in life, and whatever needs to be will be, and I will always find a way to figure it out.
Love it. That's that's Job 101, right? Not literally the verse, but the lifestyle, the reality that there's a man doing things perfectly, cultivating amazing things, and God had something different in store for him. And everybody around judged and said, well, he must be doing this wrong. And he continued to stay true to who he was, even though people said, just curse God and die, like his wife said. And he said, no. He said, Lord giveth, Lord taketh away. Right. And then he ended up blessed with a massive abundance. And we love to get addicted to that reality that, well, maybe our abundance is coming. He did not worry about that. He was focused on being his best self and doing what he needed to. I think our greatest lesson as visionary leaders is actually about the friends. Are we the friends who point fingers and judge others? Am I judging Drewbie and saying, well, he's successful because? Or am I judging Drewbie and saying, well, he's a broken man because, right? I don't want to be that type of guy. I don't want to be that type of friend. I want to be the type of friend that understands that all of the success, all of the bad fortunes, all of that is really out of my control. And like you said, live the perfect day, crush the day. I absolutely love that. Now when I think of dominate the day and Lonnie Walker, I'm going to think of Drewbie Wilson and crush the day. And I remember the spirit that you brought to this. So thank you for that. I want to make sure that we bring you back in the future too. I don't know if we're going to have time to finish the last 3 questions that I'd like to dive into. There was another angle that I wanted to explore of what you said. You know what? Sometimes though, when a thought is fleeting, it's not meant to be. So I'm gonna let that go. I might circle back personally and ask you about it because it was more for me probably than the audience. But let's take a stab at finishing these. What's the worst leadership experience that you've ever had?
Worst leadership experience I ever had. I was all the way committed to something. I was promised a lot, and when it came time to deliver, the person who was supposed to said, hey man, don't ever rely on another man to be your safety net. And I was like, oh, from the guy who was supposed to be my leader, I'm not supposed to rely on you to be my safety net. And so that is why I take leadership so seriously. Almost to a detriment sometimes. And other leaders will understand that sometimes you want other people to win more than they want to win for themselves. And that's a hard place to be.
That's interesting. There's profound wisdom in what he said, but it's also something that can be said with manipulative insincerity. Right. And it is important for us to be there for others. One of the hardest times in my life, losing my first marriage, right, and going through that divorce experience, I read a psychology book that I wish I could remember the name for. I've tried so many times, but in it, the psychologist was a pretty hard hitter, not the typical indirect psychologist that lets you figure things out. And they said when we put our spouse in a position of saving us, or when we expect or demand anything out of them whatsoever, we are putting them in the position of before God. And thou shalt have no other gods before me. And it was a very deep, like, oh my gosh, this challenges everything I know. But what he was teaching was that we set our relationships up for failure when we put people in our life who are inadequate, who are not perfect, who can't possibly meet our expectations in that position, versus always being grateful for what we do get from people, knowing that they're going to make mistakes just like us. And so it profoundly changed the way that I looked at relationships. Yet it's still my responsibility as a leader, right? It's my responsibility to show up and provide for my own. That's still mine. I still need to do that for my people. So it doesn't give me the ability to then justify taking advantage of somebody or seeing the Jewish person laying on the side of the road and not being the good Samaritan, being the one who said, well, that's his problem. And passing by, we still have an extreme opportunity to step in and help and be that angel in human form. And so there's, trying to go full circle on that, because what you shared, 100%, not the leader I want to be known as. And at the same time, I never want my people to ever feel like I'm their savior. I want them to know
it was one of those very dynamic situations, because in the moment it was like so hurtful. And also sometimes we have to go through that pain to experience the growth that is necessary. And oftentimes that is what a mentor-mentee relationship is. They can only lead you so far before now you have to take your own journey, your own hero's journey. The Alchemist, by the way, is one of my favorite books. So I just got to throw that out there, because like the hero's journey is so real. And until you understand that that is a part of the process, a part of growth is the breaking down of the situation so that it can be rebuilt better, stronger, faster, more efficient. And often it's those hard conversations that we reflect back on and go, man, in the moment that was hurtful, but I'm kind of glad they said that. So I almost want to say thank you.
Well, that's grateful for the experience, knowing that, again, exemplifying leadership, you're probably not going to do that to somebody else. You'll probably be more like the Alfred, who pulls Batman out even when Batman's mad at him, and keeps that family unity and that loyalty there. So we can learn from the experience and use the good from it, while also leveling it up and taking things to that next level. And I see you learning from that to do just that. So what's the best leadership experience you've ever had?
Best leadership experience I ever had. Funny enough, same guy. I was in a community of about 80,000 people on Facebook, and I was just sharing value and doing kind of a smaller version of what I'm doing now. And he reached out to me one day and said, hey, man, I see that you're pouring into this community that I've built, and I really appreciate that. And I want to give you an opportunity to come on board and help me keep doing that, because I believe that you have a gift. And I would like to help you develop that gift, because I know it will help me help you help millions of people. And if you're open to it, I'd love to give you that opportunity.
This isn't, I'm going to take some stabs at guesses. This isn't Taylor Welch, Cole Gordon, or Dean Kazora, is it?
No, sir. But I know those guys intimately. If you ask them about me, they all know me very well.
I bet they do. I can definitely see the vibe. And so 100%. And I've got great respect for each one of their leadership capacities. Drewbie, if this was the last podcast, the last chance you had to talk to the world and give a powerful lesson, what powerful lesson can their visionaries learn from your experience?
Trust the process. I think far too many people give up because they want immediate gratification, especially in the world we're in now, where we can go to Amazon, we can go to Google, we can go online and get just about anything and everything we want immediately. That is not how success works. Success is a long journey, and you have to trust the process. And if you'll just do that, like you said, everything else is going to be the way that it's going to be. And if you lean in and have faith, life will be pretty damn good.
Are you saying that if I go plant seeds today, and that by next week those seeds haven't turned into a fruitful crop, that I shouldn't go destroy that field and plant more seeds because it failed? Obviously, I mean, I'm supposed to wait for things to actually like grow and cultivate and
no, you're not supposed to wait. You're supposed to go out every day, and you're supposed to water those plants, and you're supposed to destroy the weeds that try to take over those seeds that you've taken the time to put all that love and energy into. No, you don't wait. You're supposed to go and do the work every single day, because every single day there's going to be something trying to take those seeds, something trying to dig up that harvest that you've put into place.
All right, but if I do that,
you don't take action.
If I do that for a week and then I get back to action, I just say no. I got to replace the seeds, right?
What seeds are you growing? Some seeds grow in a week. Some seeds like bamboo might take 5 years before you see them coming up. But you know what happens after 5 years? They grow unstoppably. What seeds are you growing?
So law of the harvest, right? It's huge. It's such a hard thing to teach people who are raised with the law of the microwave. Right. We look at the old generation, right? The old generation says, these Gen Zers and these millennials, man, they take everything for granted. They're entitled. And I'm looking back and I'm saying, who invented the microwave? Like let's share the love here. Let's share the accountability here on this. What's the training? What's a way we can help people understand the value of the law of the harvest in a world where very few people are farmers?
The best thing that I would say, and I know we're coming up short on time here, but I'm going to make this as quick as possible while being as impactful as possible. So if you're still here with us, know that you've made a very, very smart investment, because you're investing the one asset you cannot buy more of, win in a poker tournament, or get for Christmas morning, and that is your time. And so the secret is to understand what your time is truly worth by going back and looking at all the money you made in the last 12 months and then dividing that number by 2,000. Because if you were average, and you're certainly not an average person because you're here with us today listening and you're investing in yourself to learn and grow. But if you were, you'd work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, and you take a 2-week vacation. So you'd work about 2,000 hours. So here's the scary thing to think about, Jackson. If you only made $100,000 last year, and I say only because what's scary is that means your time is worth about $50 an hour. And I know damn good and well that if I were to come to you and tell you, sir, you only have 24 hours left to live, but I need an hour and here's $50, come with me, you're going to have some choice words, and they're not going to be, yes, sir, I'm on my way.
I love it, man. That was cerebral. If you need to listen to that again, listen to it again. But why are we going to the wire? Because I've absolutely loved my time with Drewbie. This has been awesome. I've learned a lot today. I hope all of you have taken more notes than I have. I get to go back and listen to this and take more notes as well. You can find Drewbie Wilson on LinkedIn, of course, on most social media channels. You can also go to Call the Damn Leads and his other websites. We'll have all of them in the section below this video on the landing page that says action steps. So you can get in touch with him and see what programs he has to offer. In addition to that, we'll have the resources down below that. And lastly, we have a call to action in the top right corner. It says, be our guest. If you've got a vision to share, you don't have to be crushing it at the highest levels of leadership like Drewbie just showed me he is. You can be brand new to leadership as long as you're striving to serve people and help people, and you got a vision that does that. Come and share it with us on Vision Pros Live. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building